Well, hi there, guys. So I wanted to pick up on a really positive story that was highlighted on the BBC website yesterday. So the story is that the founder of the children's toy shop, The Entertainer, is handing over his business to his staff members. So let's have a quick read through what's going on here on the BBC website. So it says the founder of the UK's biggest toy chain, The Entertainer, is handing over control of the business to his 1,900 workers. Gary Grant opened his first shop with his wife Catherine in 1981 when he was 23, and he's now 66, and he has 160 shops across the UK. And in terms of the actual transfer, it says he's transferring 100% ownership of the family-owned business to an employee trust, which means staff will get a share of the profits and a say in how the firm is run. And he goes on to say, if the business had been sold just for money, that would not have been passing on the baton in the way in which the family would have wanted. And it says most of the Entertainer's profits are made in the lead up to Christmas. And he said it was too early to say whether staff would get a bonus for this financial year, but that they should be looking at the real rewards come the year ending January 2027. So it goes on, under an employee ownership trust, Mr. Grant and his family will also be financially rewarded. They will receive a payout for the transfer of their 100% shareholding, which will be taken out of the profits over time. And then it just says that in its latest set of annual accounts for the year ending Jan 24, the Entertainer posted pre-tax profits of 6.7 million. So as compared to a lot of shops on the high street, it's obviously doing really well. So it goes on, the Entertainer has thrived against all the odds, said Mr. Grant, and he highlighted the financial crisis of 2008, the COVID pandemic, the decline of the high street and the shift to online shopping. The Grant family's Christian ethos is central to how the business is run. Unlike other big retailers, it doesn't open on a Sunday and it donates 10% of its annual profits to charity. And then as the article goes on, it has testimony from various staff members who work at the Entertainer. So let's have a read of some of those. So it says, Jess Payne, who has worked for the Entertainer for 10 years, said Mr. Grant's decision is really brave and really exciting for us. She said that people within the company already listen when we speak, but to know that officially what we say matters and we can contribute to the future success of the business is really exciting. Lee Adlam, who's been with the retailer for nearly 8 years, said it was just a typical Gary thing to do. And he goes on, he's always had employees at heart and their best interests at heart, adding he's always looking after us. So as this was a rare sort of good news story for the high street, it's interesting sort of in its own right in terms of what it tells us. Because obviously everything that you read about the high street is negative. And in most cases, everything you read about our economy as a whole is also negative. And although it's sort of only a case study of one, I think this story really gets to the heart of what it means to be a worker within a capitalist system, or certainly the version of capitalism that we live under at the moment. So the normal story is obviously an economy with a proliferation of what David Graeber called bullshit jobs. So essentially you have low skill, low wage jobs that provide very little meaning for the people doing them. And in many cases, they don't even provide a living wage or enough money to survive on without being topped up by universal credit. So in that book, Bullshit Jobs, Graeber talks about how modern employment is stripped of all meaning, and he goes on to explore the effect of that on our well-being and our sort of psyche. So if you contrast that bleak picture with the way that those people are talking in that article about their jobs, it's like chalk and cheese. You could just see in the couple of case studies that they gave in the article, there's that sense of hope there, isn't there? They're looking at the future positively. It's an extremely rare commodity, that. So those people, they're going to be doing a job that they enjoy, and they now have a stake and a meaningful share in how that company runs and what it does. So personally, I've had numerous jobs since the financial crash of 2008, but never once have I ever felt part of something. I find that quite sad, really. But I don't think I'm unusual in that at all. I think most people who do ordinary jobs would agree that our version of capitalism is sort of out of date and that things need to change quite rapidly. Obviously, I acknowledge that this is just one story, but then also think about James Timpson and his model for his business. So this example of the Entertainer and that of the Timpsons that I just gave, it just shows that there are different employment models and different ways of doing things. We don't have to remain stuck in this sort of doom spiral of cost cutting, downsizing, meaninglessness and poor wages. We just need the bravery, the imagination and actually the leadership to do it. So it was a really positive article and something that I found really interesting. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.